All right, aloha. Welcome to day two of our 30-day mindfulness challenge for 2025. Day two, we're going to be focusing on the see, hear, feel range of sensory experience, but we're just going to focus on see. So we're going to drop everything we hear and everything we feel, or at least not give them our attention for the duration of this meditation, to the best of our ability, of course. Um, well, I'd like to also offer that if you have an opportunity to sit out on the porch or patio, somewhere where there might be a more pleasurable visual field out there for you, feel free to take that moment before we start. Otherwise, you can do this in a simple office with the regular background, a still wall, or in a bedroom or in a living room or wherever. It doesn't really require there to be anything particularly stimulating, but just if you had an opportunity, go ahead and step aside or step outside for that, for this practice today. So, like I said, we're just going to be focusing on the see sensory category as we dig a little deeper into the see, hear, feel sensory categories. And with that in mind, I will see you on the other side. All right, let's get started. Wherever you're at, I invite you to stretch up and settle into position. As usual, it's best if we can sit in an upright position, but if that's not available to you, it's not required. So let's settle into the practice now. And for this meditation, we can actually keep our eyes open for the time being. And let's get started. So the purpose of this practice is to work with the see of the see, hear, feel sensory categories. So right away, I want you to do your best to focus on the environment around you, whether you're sitting in your office, chair, or on a patio, or in your car, whatever the scenario is. We're going to dial our attention to our visual field and just have a look around. And if need, you can include me in the background here in those options. Otherwise, feel free to use your natural environment that you're in. And as we're looking around, let's just find something, anything, a clock, a tree, a wall, a wrinkle in the curtain, whatever it is. And just dial your visual field into it. And maybe try and kind of soak into that one thing, whatever it is. By soaking into it, I mean notice as much detail as you can about it. Just exploring it. All right, good job. And however that happens for you, let's go ahead and maybe open up the aperture and look around a little bit and see if there's anything else that catches our attention in the visual field. And just find something else and then kind of dial in on it, whatever it is. And yeah, we're focusing on it. We're concentrating here. So the idea is if you hear noises or have thoughts or feel sensations that draw your attention away from what you're focusing your sight on, you just notice if it happens, and then you return your attention back to the visual field, whatever you were looking at. If you like, you can use the label C They just kind of help reinforce where our attention is. Now go ahead and release it from wherever it is now. And let's try and just open up and try and take in as much of the visual field as we can. Kind of opening the aperture to try and take everything we can in all the way back to our peripheral vision as well. There may be a little attention out in front of you and some attention to the sides and some attention to wherever that field ends and we can't see anymore back here. See if we can just open up the aperture and notice as much of that visual field out there as possible. Just rest and relax into that field. We're not bearing down and concentrating. We're opening up and resting and relaxing out into that greater visual field, all of it, as best as we can. It's okay if you find your attention, your vision kind of bopping around a little bit, not necessarily stabilizing in the open aperture, but we're just allowing it to retain and remain in the visual field. We're paying no mind to anything other than what we see, right? And notice back beyond the periphery where it ends and it's kind of blurry. See if you can sense where that blur transitions and there's a little more focus out in a certain area. But it's all just one big visual field. And the focus is just a result of the aperture of the eyes. See. Now I'd like to invite you to close your eyes if you're comfortable with it. And we'll repeat the exercise. Just noticing if you see any one particular thing that draws your attention, wherever it's at. Or maybe there's nothing there, just darkness. That's okay. We're still looking, right? We're still noting the visual field. Any noises or distractions or random thoughts or feelings, they're not our object of concentration right now. We're just noticing what we see. You may notice this as well if you want to try and kind of open up the aperture and note the entire internal visual field. It may feel like it's got a location, or maybe there is no location. It's just wide open, vast, 360 degrees potential all around. Either way, we're just noticing what we see, whether it's intense visuals or just random dark amorphous colors moving about. You have thoughts you hear in your head or emotions rise up, or we feel uncomfortable. We just notice when these things happen and draw our attention away from our sight and then return it back to the see visual field. Whatever it is that we're seeing, we're noticing, we're exploring. One thing, two things, the whole thing. Just see. All right, great job. Now, wherever you're at, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. So I invite you to end there and open your eyes if your eyes were closed. And we'll end it right there. All right, that was Just See from the See, Hear, Feel framework of meditation from Unified Mindfulness. So I hope you liked it. I hope you got a flavor of the visual field and exploring it. And yeah, a few minutes have passed by. So congrats, day two. Look forward to seeing you on day three. Mahalo.